Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Horseshoe Show here on Shirt Sports TV. I am your host, Jack Rizzo. Thank you, everyone, for joining me tonight. Week one for the Colts is officially in the book. Anthony Richardson's debut is officially over. It was a tough one for the Colts on Sunday as they lost to the Jags 31-21 and dropped to 0-1 on the season. It is their ninth week one loss in the last 10 years. It's now been 3,658 days since the Colts last won a week one game. It's going to continue next year to at least 4,000 days. But if we're being honest, that really doesn't matter. What really matters is how the Colts looked in this game. And if we're being honest, I was extremely impressed with how they looked in this game. So I'm going to talk about what I saw from this game after watching the film and what we could expect to see from them next week when they take on the Houston Texans on the road. So I'm going to go through each part of the team individually, tell you how I think they performed. Let's just get right into it. Let's start with the coaching first. Thought Shane Steichen had an interesting first game, a lot of ups and downs. Had some really nice play calls in the first half, a lot of good RPOs. AR definitely run the ball more successfully in the first half than he did in the second half. Again, he got Josh Downs involved in the first half, which wasn't really the case in the second half. Again, it was kind of like a two half story. Like the first half, I thought they did great play calling. The second half, I thought they were pretty lackluster. After the touchdown, early in the third quarter, the Colts offense did not score again after that. They also went just 1 of 5 on fourth down. That has to be improved. But again, that's something you're going to see from a young team a lot. They also, the running game, they did not get the running game really going. They averaged just 2.5 yards per carry on Sunday. They've got to do better at that. I think the Colts are really missing Jonathan Taylor now, even though I still don't think we should pay him. But in terms of the rushing game, we definitely were missing him because Deion Jackson did not play well, had 2 fumbles, and now Evan Hull's on IR. So the rushing game is a mess right now. We got to hope to get Zach Moss back. Maybe sign someone free agency. Jake Funk's gonna have to step up as well. Certainly going to be interesting to see how this rushing game plays out. But back to the coaching. Another thing that the Colts are going to have to realize is that this offensive line is not the same as what the Eagles' offensive line was. Not even close. We saw in that QB sneak early in the first half when they did the same formation the Eagles did last year on short yardage situations, and the Colts did not pick up the first down. They did not get any of a push. The offensive line was able to get anything done, and of course, they stopped him, and again, the Colts were just 1 of 5 on fourth down. And that 1 fourth down conversion came in garbage time at the end of the game when AR was like 3 yards short of the first down, but was able to lower his shoulder and pick up the first. Obviously, I like the play calling of the Colts in the first game. I think they have a really unique playbook and one that's diverse and really going to help them out. Definitely more unique than the Frank Reich playbook, but at the same time, they definitely have to correct some things like clock management, the offensive line, the running game, and again, the fourth down play calling was definitely not the Colts' strongest this year, especially the Deion Jackson run in the second half, which was pretty bad. David get close to the first down, then fumbled. But I'm going to talk about Deion a little bit later. But overall for the coaching, up and down game, but I definitely see a lot of potential. They just got to correct the errors. All right, now let's get to the man of the hour, Anthony Richardson. The man who's making his Colts debut yesterday. First career NFL start in his first NFL game. Obviously, we hope he can be next great franchise quarterback here in Indy after Peyton Manning and Andrew Luck. But AR definitely was exciting to watch. Last Sunday, he completed 24 of 37 passes for 220 yards. 223 yards to be exact. 1 touchdown. And 1 interception. Again, he also had 40 yards on the ground as well and rushed in a score. First touchdown was absolutely epic. It was so cool to see. Thought he did some nice things. So he threw the ball pretty well. His accuracy was really solid, I thought. I mean, going 24 of 37 is really good. That's like a 65% completion percentage his first game. So really cool to see that out of him. I saw some people who were saying, he's not even going to complete half his passes. And he turned out to have the best performance out of all the rookie quarterbacks in week one. mean, he did make a couple of mistakes. Like the one interception he threw was bad, a severely underthrown ball to, I believe, Mo Alley Cox that was intercepted by Tyson Campbell. But again, you're going to see that from Air. You're going to see quite a few interceptions this year. But again, the kid's 21. He's going to figure it out. And he showed a lot of, he was really good at week 1. Like the Colts did not lose week 1 because of Anthony Richardson. Lost it more so because of their coaching and their running game. Now for AR, I believe I projected 12 of 22 for 180 yards. And I believe hang on, I have it right here. No, I'm sorry. Yeah, I remember now. I had a 12 of 22 for 180 yards. I believe I also had 1 touchdown, rushing, 1 on the ground, and 1 interception. So I actually had a pretty solid idea of what AR was going to do, and I'm really proud of the way I was able to predict that. Because again, I said again my numbers are all pretty close for what I said they were going to be. Yeah. So let's head down to the rushing game. Again, I've talked about this a little bit before. Horrible, absolutely horrible. Averaged 2.5 yards per carry. Yesterday, nobody really got anything done. Evan Hull had the one nice run, and of course, he was the one that got hurt and is now on IR, and he's going to miss at least 4 games. Dion looked horrible, had 2 fumbles. Colts see JT back badly, or at least Zach Moss, because Moss did run the ball pretty well at the end of last year. But the rushing game really didn't look that great. Even AR struggled to run the ball in the second half. Again, this offensive line is not the same as the Eagles was, but I think it was just more so because the Colts don't have Jonathan Taylor. Remember what Shane Steichen said? We're going to throw to score points and run to win. And if he wants to run to win, they're going to have to average more than 2.5 yards per carry if they want any chance of winning. And the failure to get the rushing game going is honestly one of the main reasons why the Colts lost yesterday. Now, in terms of the wide receivers, other than Michael Pittman and the first half version of Josh Downs, it was very quiet. Pittman had a great game. He had 8 catches for 97 yards and a touchdown. That one touchdown coming on a screen pass on 2nd and 28. Absolutely crazy play. One of the best calls from Shane Steichen on Sunday. Nice screen. Will Fries threw a great block on the outside, and Pittman took it to the house. It was great play call, and it was so cool to see Pittman. He and AR are going to have a great connection. I hope the Colts. I certainly hope the Colts pay Pittman at some point because we cannot lose him, especially with how the rest of the receiver room looked. Alec Pierce struggled in the preseason, had a pretty bad first game. I mean, didn't really get any targets. He had just 1 catch for 5 yards. Pretty much speaks for itself. I mean, this is a guy who's supposed to have all these like long receptions. And to be fair, the Colts actually didn't really take any deep shots yesterday, which kind of disappointed me. But we'll just have to see how the season plays out. But again, I've definitely been disappointed in Alec Pierce in preseason and in the week 1. I don't care how good of a camp he's had. And the games that actually count, he has not proven anything so far. Josh Downs, really good first half. Had a great route across the middle. Had a couple little short passes that he was able to catch. Really like his potential, especially when the offense gets a little smoother as the season goes on. Isaiah McKenzie, I think, played like 2 or 3 snaps all of yesterday, so couldn't really see much of him. Juwan Winfrey did not play any snaps yesterday. So really all we can evaluate was the top 3. Pittman was impressed me. Downs was kind of in the middle, and Pierce definitely disappointed me. So that's how I feel about the receivers, but I think AR could use a little more help with the skill position guys. Now, the tight end room I really liked. Kylan Granson had a great game, 4 catches. Some really nice grabs, too. Bailed out AR on a 3rd and short route to the outside. Had a great had a little screen pass to him the first half. Thought he did really well. Has the chance to be the Colts' number 1 tight end. Mo Alley Cox stinks. I kind of just wish we'd get rid of him. He didn't do anything yesterday. Drew Ogletree got a concussion, which is unfortunate. And of course, Jelani Woods is on IR. And I can't wait for excuse me, guys, for Jelani to come back because I think he's probably the number 1 tight end on this roster when he does. So we'll just have to see. But overall, the tight end room, I think this is one of the strongest tight end rooms overall in the AFC, maybe even the entire NFL. Like I actually really like our tight end room. And once we're healthy, I think they're going to be a huge part of this offense. Now, the offensive line was a mixed bag. They did allow 4 sacks on AR, which was not great. However, Bernard Raymond had himself a fantastic game in pass protection. He's going to be a star this year. Hopefully, the long-term replacement that we've been looking for since Anthony Costanzo retired. Will Fries was horrible yesterday. I hope the Colts get rid of him inside Dalton Risner or somebody else. Will Fries is not a capable starting guard in this league. The rest of the offensive line was pretty much just average. Again, they have to do a better job running the ball because they average less than 3 yards to carry, and allowing 4 sacks in AR isn't the best look. But again, it's week 1. They can definitely improve over time. The O-line, though, has to be better, though. The offense was definitely sloppy, but I like the play calling, though, the Colts brought yesterday. Now, let's talk about the Colts defense. The side of the ball that really impressed me. Don't let the 31 points overlook you. A lot of those points that the Jags scored, those 31, a lot of them came from really good field position for the Jags because of failed 4th down conversions and turnovers and all that stuff. But I thought the defense played extremely well yesterday against one of the best offenses in the NFL. A team that already had Christian Kirk, Zay Jones, Evan Ingram, and Travis Etienne last year, and just added Calvin Ridley, who looked like the true number 1 weapon in this offense. I was impressed with the way the defense played. I thought the secondary did a good job, except for Calvin Ridley. I don't even think Christian Kirk had a catch on Sunday. Rest of the receivers were quiet. And honestly, Trevor Lawrence just made some absolutely incredible throws where the ball had to be put in a specific spot for it to even be caught. And of course, Trevor is just incredible. And that's how a lot of his passes were just incredible throws, like almost no other quarterback can make. The front 7, though, that is going to be the strength of this team. I'll tell you that right now. Got pressure on Trevor Lawrence all game. DeForest Buckner had a sack, a forced fumble, a fumble recovery, and a touchdown. Let's talk about that play for a second. Maybe the most ridiculous play I have seen in a long time. So it started off with, Buckner flying off the edge, getting the sack on Lawrence, the ball popping out, and the ball went about 5 yards downfield. When I saw it at first, I thought for sure they were going to rule an incomplete pass, but the refs let it play out, and then the Jags' backup running back picked up the ball and kind of just stood there, and then Zaire Franklin came from behind and punched that ball right out of there, and Buckner was back near where Lawrence was, picked up the ball, and ran it all the way back and dove like a tight end into the end zone. And after a long review, the play ended up standing. One of the craziest plays. It gave us the lead. My dad and I, we were pumped after that play. Unfortunately, we couldn't win, but it was great to have a moment like that in the game. But Buckner had the quadruple on that play: the sack, the forced fumble, the recovery, and the touchdown. But Zaire Franklin was what really made that play happen by punching that ball out. He also had 18 tackles yesterday. I mean, Zaire is just absolutely crazy. I'm so happy we have him on our team. You could argue he's almost as valuable as Shaq Leonard was. And by the way, it was great to have Shaq back on the field. Made a ton of plays all over the field and 8 tackles, a couple tackles for loss. Really happy to see Shaq back in there for the Colts. Kwity Paye had himself a fantastic game as well, which is really good because we need to see Kwity Paye step up this year. This third year is always an important year for players on their rookie contract. So Kwity impressed me. Samson Ebukam on the other side also got some great pressure. Grover with some nice plays. The run game, EJ Speed made some nice plays. Front 7 is definitely the strength of this team. As for special teams, Matt Gay, 3 for 3 on extra points. Couldn't really evaluate him too much. Rigoberto Sanchez had some nice punts. Special teams coverage, though, has to do better, especially on that punt return in the 4th quarter with Jamal Agnew. Absolutely crazy play. That happened. I don't know why we allowed it to happen. We tried to down the ball, and then Agnew picked it up and ran all the way across midfield, and that set up the Jags' game-winning drive. And honestly, that game-winning drive really only happened because the Colts defense was tired. I don't blame the Colts defense for blowing it. They were holding the Jags in all of the first half. All the second half, and then they just blew it, and then they just fell at the end. But overall, just really impressed with the way the Colts played yesterday, and it gives me a good feeling for this Sunday when they take on the Houston Texans. Should be an interesting game, another AFC South battle. Last time the Colts lost a game at NRG Stadium was 2019. They've only lost, correct me if I'm wrong, they've only lost 2 games there since 2013. So the Colts found a lot of success there. They tied with the Texans last year. And the Texans really didn't play that well against the Ravens. They really stood no chance against that defense. CJ Stroud had 4 sacks. The Texans also were bad on 4th down. going just 1 of 4. They actually had more yards than the Ravens in that game. But again, the fourth downs, the sacks, and again, the field goals really killed them, and they lost by 16. And honestly, I feel pretty good about this game. I actually think there's going to be a lot of more defense in this game than people are might be thinking. I think these are two underrated defenses. The Texans played really well against Lamar Jackson in the Ravens rushing game, so maybe they'll be able to contain Anthony Richardson and the Colts. Although AR definitely outdueled CJ Stroud this past week, I'll say that right now. And looks like we have a comment in here. Sarah just joined. Hey, Jack, go Colts. Yeah, totally agree, Sarah. Thank you so much for joining. Really, I appreciate you as always. You're always in here supporting my shows. Thank you so much, Sarah. She's been a Colts fan for a long time. She's a very loyal Colts fan. And if any Colts fans are watching, I believe she's going to the Saints game in Week 8. Correct me if I'm wrong, though, Sarah. Thank you so much for joining. But going back to the Texans game, I think it's going to be a defensive slugfest. I think these offenses are still going to be sloppy. Still have two brand new head coaches, two rookie quarterbacks, two young teams looking for new identities. But it'll be interesting because one of these rookie quarterbacks will have to get their first win this Sunday. And I expect the Colts offensive line to play a lot better against this Houston front seven, even though they played well against the Ravens last week. But again, you get better over time. I expect the offensive line to get better. I also expect the rushing game to do better as well. Ravens had over 100 yards on the ground last week, two rushing touchdowns, I believe. So it should be an interesting game. Again, it should be a real slugfest. And in terms of my pick, I'm going with the Colts to win this game. I think AR is going to get his first win this Sunday at Houston. Final score: Colts 24, Texans 21. That's actually probably a higher score than what I kind of just said before, but I think there might be some like garbage time points. Maybe it'll be like 24-14. Colts and the Texans will get a touchdown with like under 2 minutes remaining, and they'll go for an onside kick. But I think the Colts defense is going to be the difference maker of this. I think CJ Stroud is going to make more mistakes than AR is. I think the Texans have maybe a little bit less of playmakers than the Colts do. I think the Colts defensive line is definitely better than the Texans are. So I think they're going to get a lot of pressure on CJ Stroud, stop the running game, and ultimately win this game and have 5 sacks on defense, 2 turnovers, and ultimately win the game. Okay, guys, that's pretty much going to do it for the show. I'm not really feeling that well today, so I wanted to make the show a little bit shorter. By the way, I picked the Jags to win last week, and I got it right. I'm pretty sad about that. And I actually picked them to win by 10, though. That's exactly how much they won by. And I thought maybe the Colts would score like a touchdown at the end to make it close. It turned out to be opposite. The Colts were actually winning, and then the Jags put a beating on us at the end. But I feel really confident for you Colts fans out there about this game. I really think we have a pretty decent chance of winning it. Should be an interesting one. Really underrated matchup. Honestly, I think this should have been like a Thursday night game at some point. You got 2 rookie quarterbacks dueling it out. The Colts nor the Texans have a primetime game this year. I'm honestly surprised that because again, the schedule comes out after the draft. So I'm surprised 2 of the 3 teams who picked quarterbacks in the top 4 of the draft did not get a primetime game. And I think the Panthers might have only gotten like 1 or 2 primetime games. They have one this week on Monday night against the Saints at home. But yeah, it's an interesting scenario. But again, the Colts and Texans are 2 young teams that are going to hopefully look to improve this year from the way they played last year. I mean, combined for just 7 wins last year. Texans' last winning season came in 2019, the last time they made the playoffs. So again, it should be an interesting one. I ultimately think, though, the Colts come out on top. So thank you, everyone, for watching. Thank you, Sarah, for commenting. Always appreciate you in here. Go check out Eli and I tomorrow night on the 12th Horseshoe podcast for our Week 2 game picks. In case you missed Tuesday's episode where we recapped Week 1, we both think that the Eagles are going to come out on top 10 against the Vikings. I said 24-9. Eli said 21-10. It is Eli's lock of the week. Speaking of Eli, make sure to go follow him and I on the 12th Horseshoe and Sports Mono on Saturdays at 10 a.m. or 11 a.m. I believe. My show, the Horseshoe Show, aired it today this week because I went to the Mets game last night, so decided to push it back a day. But thank you everyone for watching. Jack Rizzo signing off here, and I will see you all tomorrow and for my show next week. Goodbye.